Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining this session. My name is Damir Esenaliev. I work as senior researcher at IGZ, which stands for Leibniz Institute for Vegetable and Ornamental Crops. I also work at ISDC, International Security and Development Center in Berlin. So I live in Berlin, but I'm from Kyrgyzstan. So today I present a joint work with Golib Sanaev, who joined us through Zoom from Frankfurt, I believe. And
Yes.
been a long work, not least because of the data we've been using, which required a lot of data cleaning. The topic of the paper, hopefully at some point, is agricultural market participation and household welfare in Kyrgyzstan. It's something I've been interested from the past work. And given that this particular data, integrate household survey, provides much more granular information at crop and product levels, we thought that it's a great resource to exploit. And I'll proceed with showing you what I'm going to do. Just to highlight that it's a work in progress as always. So what I'm presenting is more or less what shows what's coming. I have some results, the most interesting part, but I was not entirely sure it's correct one. So unfortunately, next version will be presenting it, but now it's more or less describing where it's heading to. So my presentation is about summary, motivation and country context, data source, explaining a lot how we derived our indicators, some descriptive statistics and next steps. So it's going to be quite short, but hopefully useful, and I also hope you will ask questions and provide some suggestions. So we are talking about structural transformation in an economy. And structural transformation happens when agriculture as a sector more or less becomes as profitable as other sectors, which means that many people who work in agriculture move to other sectors, classically to industry. And this seems to be taking place in Kyrgyzstan as well. We will see a slide. And it means that whoever is left in agriculture, to be profitable, they need to trade. And it requires commercially oriented agriculture. And it's definitely the case for most the advanced countries. Countries like Germany or Israel probably have very advanced agricultural sector, very much oriented to agriculture. And we know kind of processes happening in Kyrgyzstan, many people living from rural areas and agriculture towards cities and to migration and to other sectors. And overall, this trend is expected to improve lives of people who are in agriculture. And we ask this question, whether this already taking place in Kyrgyzstan, and we look at farming households, and we see in what extent their participation in markets improves their welfare. By welfare, we mean few things, including aggregate consumption, poverty rate, and possibly income. To do that, we use rotating panel data from Kyrgyzstan called Kyrgyz Integrated Household Survey for the years 2013 till 2020. So it's 6 or 7 waves. And our preliminary suggestive results indicate that, in fact, there is not much going on. Those who sell their products in markets don't really get higher income, higher consumption. But it could be a bit early conclusion to make before we make final calculations and make precise estimations. So evidence on this topic is that transition from low productive semi-subsistence agriculture to high productive commercialized agriculture is a core theme of development and agricultural economics. There are many studies proving that statement, that commercialization reduces poverty, it improves other things. However, there is concern about inequality. Those who have higher possibilities to do large-scale farming gain more. And at household level, it also improves their ownership of assets, livestock ownership, and etc. in studies mostly coming from Africa. Kyrgyzstan, probably this is more or less oriented this slide to audience outside of Kyrgyzstan, but again, we keep saying that rural population is dominant, many still dependent on agriculture. Poverty rate, even especially after COVID, is quite high. And some estimates of food insecurity seems to be pointing that it's definitely an issue. So these numbers are quite high, both food security and insecurity rather and poverty. So this chart is probably most kind of evidence of why we are looking at this topic. So as you see, this chart shows evolution of role of agriculture in employment, in GDP, and we also show rural poverty over time, starting from day of independence, from 1991. And it's clear that in terms of both GDP and employment, agriculture has played huge role at some point, mid of 1990s. So employment, for example, was almost employing every second person. And now, as you see in recent years, everything is falling down. Especially share of GDP is quite low. Employment is about 20%. And ironically, people leave and rural poverty also declines. Yeah, so maybe living from agriculture is the way to go out of poverty. Probably. In some sense, it's true. So this is what motivates our research, and we look whether those who lived in agriculture and who can possibly have larger land and produce more products, participate in markets, and therefore gain in income and consumption. So data source is the largest household survey in country called Kyrgyz Integrated Household Survey. It is a multi-topic rotating panel survey of households. It was launched in 2003 and conducted annually. Some part of information collected quarterly with a household sample of about 5,000 representative at oblast and national levels. We use data from 2013 to 2020. New sample, we call it, because statistical committee practically started a new sample in 2013, which means that you cannot connect previous waves and this one because these are absolutely new households. So I was wrong to say 6, 7, but it's 8 waves of data. I think this period is also interesting because Kyrgyzstan became part of Eurasian Economic Union, and there were a lot of expectations about trade and opening new markets. So that was one of the motivations of doing this. We knew that this data is rich with agricultural information, production and sales and consumption. So the challenge was to really understand this structure of the data and to make sure that you clean it properly. And this work was done by my colleague Golib heroically for over several months, cleaning this data and understanding the structure of the data and making sure that what remains to work with makes sense. So we use production, sales at household product level, both crops and livestock products, and we have data on agricultural inputs and own consumption, meaning production and consuming the same product. As welfare indicators, we use household consumption and income data from statistical committees that is available from their website. what we end up having is about 30,000 observations of households who have agricultural land and livestock, and representing about 5.4 thousand unique households. About half of them present in all waves, in all 8 waves, about 19% present in at least 3 waves. About every second sell their product, and this table shows the sample across years. So totally it's about 3.8. And we divide them into 3 groups. Living in rural areas doesn't mean they engage in agriculture. So there is quite a share of households who don't do much agriculture. There are more or less self-subsistence group, non-sellers, and there are sellers who are about half of total our analytical sample. And this is what we use to analyze and see what's going on. So what is market participation? In a way, it seems to be a very simple question. If you sell, you participate. And then given that we want to monetize how much you participate and how much you sell and what's the proportion of your production, it became kind of a bit challenging because you may take current year's harvest and count market participation as percentage of sales out of that harvest. But we also know that there are many products that can be stored as stocks for quite time, maybe years. For example, fasol, beans can be stored for a couple of years at least, right? So we discovered that households keep stocks, and definitely because of seasonality, and we use calendar year. For example, potato will be stored and sold next year. So that brought us to the issue that we have to count stocks plus production as denominator, and then divide sales numbers to that number, and that's what we use. Then another thing is which prices do you use to calculate monetary values, and we opted to use transaction prices at household level and used average prices at the regional and country level for stocks and production. Another question is, given whatever we have in the data, livestock products and crops, the question is, what is production in livestock? I guess agricultural economists know what it is, but we have some approach which hopefully correct, and this is what we are doing. So this is what we find. So in average, those who sell, they sell about 1/3 of what they produce. A little bit high in south regions and less in north, and some variation over time. So for example, in early years, 2014, and for example, 2018, there seems to be going up and then down and up. So it probably gives a hint of either production growing or is the prices going up. So it's an interesting picture because economists become excited when they see variation in the data and they suspect there is something interesting going on. So this is one of the potentials of the data to see, for example, what effect of prices has on production decisions next year for those who produce agricultural products. So here, those 3 groups, sellers and non-sellers, and we definitely can connect to the poverty data from National Statistics Committee. And what you see here seems to be that there is not much difference going on between sellers and non-sellers. So overall, non-sellers, most of the cases seem to be having a bit higher poverty rate, but it's not always. So this chart already gave us a bit of understanding that maybe there is not much going on, contrary to our expectations that households who sell, they had more income and possibly can improve their standards of living. Some tables to show. So poverty rate between 2 groups. So where we are heading is practically comparing two groups, yeah? Those who sell versus those who don't sell. So in a way, it's a comparison over time. And here are kind of descriptives of both groups. So poverty rate doesn't seem to be too different. Consumption at per capita level seems to be a bit larger for non-sellers. We see almost differences everywhere in household demographics, in assets, in products, etc. So in a way, it kind of gives you a prospect that your results will be interesting, but from the other side, when you make regressions, things are connected and could be that it's not necessarily that these factors are important. Not sure whether I should comment too much, but for example, operational land definitely larger for those who sell. Livestock units are higher. More or less, this productive assets seems to be a bit on a higher side from for those who sell. And if those households who sell, they have larger or more items, yeah, they produce more crops, they have more varieties of livestock products and livestock as well. So anyway, they do this agricultural activity more or less professionally. So here I'm going to show you determinants of market participation. It's a simple logic model, not counting for panel structure of the data, and practically showing what are the factors that play role in for the households to be a market participant or seller. So these are factors, whatever stays on right side from that line means that it's statistically significant results. For example, being in rural area, having more varieties of crops or livestock, but also land is substantial. Yeah, so you should have larger plots of land to be able to produce commercially viable number or amount of products to sell. And this is where we are more or less standing. We definitely tried several versions of estimating welfare effects, and we find zero result, but definitely we have to tweak more and introduce variables that we don't yet have. For example, we have to count into labor kind of allocation of households into our regression. Definitely KHS has labor force survey on quarterly basis, which also a bit challenging because the same person during a year could be working, could be not working, and that you have to count properly into your annual numbers. Great, I'm told that I have to stop, but next steps and last slide. So we have to make decisions on analytical sample, practically which are households we are going to use, include labor allocation data and estimate welfare effects. But given we work so hard on this data for many months, it is definitely so detailed that it can open ways to new topics, new papers. For example, I already mentioned price shocks and production decisions, evolution of self-subsistence to firm-like farms, and interplay between crops and livestock production. And it seems to be definitely of interest probably here. So just to summarize, we explore the determinants and welfare effects from market participation. In Kyrgyzstan, we use KHS for a few years. We find that about half of analytical sample participate in markets, about a third of them sell. They sell a third of their products. So far, we don't see much going on in terms of being advantaged in welfare. Land and other productive items seem to be important, and we don't find much positive welfare effects at this stage. But if we enrich our results models, maybe we find something. That's it, and thank you for your attention, and apologies if I spoke too much.
No problem. I think we have plenty of time. Thanks a lot, Damir. Yes, excellent presentation. And now keep your questions, please write. I already have several questions to Damir. And now Nurbek Madmarov will present his work on price elasticity on food.
Hello, everybody. I am Nurbek Madmarov. I am the associate assistant professor at the American University of Central Asia, and I have prepared this the research with my colleagues at the Manas University, Kyrgyz Turkish Manas University, and they're not here. I'm going to just watch the present it by myself, and I hope you will be understanding while you are asking not so difficult questions. Okay, thank you. And my topic is the price and income elasticities of demand in Kyrgyzstan, and why this the topic is important, because because in this the research it is when we find the food elasticities, income and the price, it is especially important for what food products and by how much to produce. And also it is also very important for what the building, the policy implications, policy guidelines for the framework for the redistributing the income and reducing poverty. And also it can be also very important for the food security as well. And because this research is actually by itself may not be likely enough, because it should be also what the fallout and the contributed with the other research as well. And okay, since we have the literature, the review about this topic, there was no the research about this topic, because I'm going to talk about the other research in my later presentations, and that's why we wanted to make this the topic as a presentation. Okay, when we look at the household, the consumer expenditures. And we can see that the base year here is not the base year, the reference year is the 1990, before the collapse of the Soviet Union. When we compare we need to look at the percentages in the food products, for example. Nowadays, like they in 1990s they were consuming the food products 38%. And nowadays it is the 49%. And this means that they are actually, we know that from the behavior of the household, that when the income goes down, and they will tend to consume more the food products. And also from here we can see that the services exactly, they stayed the same comparing to the 1990s. And here the fact is when we compare the average real per capita incomes or the households in terms of the sums per month, and in the 1990s it was a little bit higher than the $6,000 dollars. It is nearly the same as the 2020 and the 2021. And here this is the purchasing capacity of income, and like by using all what the households income, we can see that in 1990s households can buy, represent as one household can buy 23 kilograms of the beef, and which is also the very important the food for the households. And when we compare this with the 2021, it is all like the approximately the 15%. Excuse me. And here, when we also compare for all of the goods, and we can see that comparing to 1990s, all of the goods are what the, like, I mean, the purchasing capacity of the households decreased. We can say that in general. Here, it is we can see the per capita consumption of food items in the years in the 1990s. Yeah, even though the necessary the goods stayed the same, and especially we can see that is the fruit, the meat, and the milk, and this the sugar is like and the eggs decreased a lot. The comparing to the 1990s nowadays. And here we can see that here the number of the households with incomes below subsistence level. From here also, from here we can say that somehow like the poverty level also the decreased. Okay, I'm a little bit confused now. And regarding the literature reviews, we have like here I'm not going to show all the literature reviews, but here I'm going to show just what the very important ones. The most one of the projects that taken in for the country 2007, and here it is the most important. The results, the expenditure elasticities are positive and less than the form, or they except the food and the vegetables. And by using the, I mean this in the estimating the food and the price elasticity is mostly they use almost ideal demand system, the model. Okay, here also we have also, now I want to like to skip because the like I have now this research is about the Kyrgyzstan, and it's the very important because it is about the remittances that is spent on the consumption or the goods. By using the seeming unrelated regression, they showed that the rise in the remittances lead to the rise in expenditures on durable goods, especially, and investment in the capital, the human capital. Okay, what we have done in this the research is by using the 2016 Life in Kyrgyzstan the data. We used the Teuber model. Actually, we have divided the model into the two parts. The first part is the Probit model, and the second part is the truncated regression model. Because we believe that in the 2016 the data, and there are actually the zero values for somewhat the foods, because that we need to exclude in the second step of the model. And also in this case, we cannot use the ordinary scores models because in the statistics, we have that the estimators for the ordinary scores will be the biased and inconsistent. And this is the first step. In this, the first step, the dependent variable is the variable that shows us 1 and 0 variable, binary variable, 1 for the consumption for the goods. For a specific good, for example, for bread, for what the noodle, etc., etc. And we have a number of the exogenous variables here, like the 9 region variables, urban, ethnicity, the gender, refrigerator, and own consumption, the production. Okay, this here we need to use the Probit or the Logit model because here because that if we use the regression the model, it will be out of like the 0, 1 and the range. And the thing is, in order to capture the estimated D into 0, 1 range, we used the Probit model in this case. And in the second step, we have to use this the dummy variable in this the D and the D star as estimated the value and put it here. Because we believe that the consumption of some specific goods should be actually controlled by exogenous variables. It's here the logic is like the instrumental, the variable, the model. Okay, and here the dependent variable is the log of the expenditure, the expenditure on specific the goods, and there are a number of the independent the variables. The classical independent variables and the other as well. And we have here the log of income and the square of the log of income, number of adults in a household, and the marital status, whether the variable, the household, the head is married or not, and age 21, 59, and the age more than the 60, the dummy variables as well, and the 9 variables, 9 region variables, urban, gender, refrigerator, and then another the own production consumption, the variables we have. And also why the different from the literature we have put here variable, the education, and what we dropped them because they significantly decreases our number of observation till what is the 70. And because now here we have that the number of observation in the model about what more than actually the 2000. And here the important variable is the own production consumption, because we believe that when actually the households produce somewhat the goods by themselves, they have they can keep the money and spend the money for the other the households. Okay, these are the descriptive statistics, and here we can see that the male households are here. This household heads are this about two-thirds of the households are the male households, and the 70% of them are the Kyrgyz the household, which is actually also what the consistent with the population distribution, ethnicity as well. And the household size is about 3.6. This is also the very consistent with what we have the data of the National Statistical Committee of the Kyrgyz Republic. And when we look at the children and the number of the dependents in a household, they are also about the 1/5 of the individuals are what the dependents that or more than 65 years in a household. And the mean number of the male adults, we can see that here the 3.77. Maybe we have actually why we have taken this the mean value, because it is the most common the one in the studies, but maybe we need to take the median the values. It will be what better the measure, because when it is actually expressed in terms of 3.77 for a person, it can be a little bit insulting. I mean, it's okay actually. 3.77, and the male adults, the ratio in the household is about the 75%. And the residents, the urbans, in this the data set, 30% of the individuals live in the urban regions, and consumption from our consumption from their own the production, they made about the 1/6 of them they made their own the production. And also here by the way we have the drop this the air conditioner and then the primary the education the variables, because they decreased the number of observations in the model significantly. Okay, and the myriad the households are here are in the majority about the 70%. And here these are the top 20 consumed products by the households in 2016. And here in the top, we can see that the beef and the flour, which is what's the more than the 15%. Okay, we can see that in total, these the 20 products. In our the data set, there are actually the 48 products. But here, we have given just what the 20 of them. And the thing is, in our model, but we have also decreased this, till the 42 products. And here for the 20 products, and the households actually spent about the 66% of their the budgets to these the 20 products in general actually. Okay, and Okay, here we can see that out of 42 products, 23 of the food products are income independent. They are not affected by the income because we can actually the think that in majority the products, the food products are somewhat the like the necessary. And yeah, like you can see from the list. And here we can see that only 19 goods and are the inferior the goods, and like out of them, like the 14 of them are the inferior goods. You can see from the list that these the goods from like the first to till the 14. And I have actually like the ranked these the coefficients according to the importance. And yeah, like why yeah, we can, I want to like here the emphasize that the pork, the coefficient is the highest, and that we need to consider about on it, because yeah, I think that yeah, yeah, and the sausages is actually to make the sense, because yeah, it can be also considered the inferior the good, because when the people get the has what the higher income, they will switch to beef or what the lamb.
Small question.
Yes.
How do you interpret the positive elasticity?
Eh?
Positive elasticity.
For pork?
No. For beer, for example.
For beer, actually, you know that, and yeah, according to the estimation, the results is found like this, and yeah.
Technically, it means that higher the price, the more beer people drink.
Yeah.
It's
It's
an
income
income.
elasticity. It's
Okay,
income.
okay.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, it's a normal good. The thing is, and thank you for the support, by the way, the colleague.
Yeah, it's institutional support came from myself.
Yeah, and the thing is, I think here, and Mr. Damir knows that this the beer is the local beer, but I think, I mean, like it is calculated as if for like the beers from for the pubs. I think, yeah, it's considered a little bit the luxury goods here. And yeah, the border, but for the coefficient for the border is the logical, because how like, and yeah, it's the production for this, the border is the difficult, and the thing is, and also it's the prices also what the high, and when actually like the income gets, the households what to start to earn, they get more what the higher the income, they can switch from what the meal products to the border. It is actually the logical. And what about the, yes.
No, questions late. Already you have 3 minutes actually to finish.
Oh, okay, thank you. And here you can see that only 6 the products, the price elasticity of demand is actually are consistent with the law of the demand. And for other the products, we can see that the majority of them are the gear, the Veblen, the goods. The thing is, yeah, like the results are, yeah, somewhat the surprising. And the thing is, the products like the bread, and for example, yeah, like these kind of the products are like, they are what the income, the price inelastic. And then we have the 20 products that have no significant price elasticities of, and I don't have the list of them here, because yeah, and also we have also the results for the dummy variables for the regions. We can see here from like the Gulnara and the Talas has like what the lower what the consumption, or they give what the less what the response to. to actually the consumption and the consumption in Jalalavat, Bishkek and the Batken is what the higher end. We can actually say this is because of the remittances. The major part of the remittances go to Osh, the Bishkek, and then the Batken region. 90% of the remittances. And here, urban consumer is normal to have the higher the consumption level. Households with more normal, the adults have the higher consumption again, and the refrigerator is also the higher the consumption. Yeah, and also lastly, the dummy variables, that's the age dummy variables, two of them, and the marital status and the gender have no significant impacts on food products. Okay, thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. And we have the next presentation by Gulnara. Gulnara will present us on the technological change in agri-food chain. Presentation is coming. So. Yeah.
Thank you very much. My topic is what new on the research agenda. This systematic literature review and bibliometric analysis of the new trends in relationship between innovation and food. My name is Gulnara Djunushalieva. I'm Senior Research Fellow at of the Institute of Public Policy and Administration, UCA, and co-author is Ramona Teuber, Professor of Justice, Liebig University. The present study investigates significant development in published papers on food and innovation to highlight, discuss types of innovation related to the food in general and to value chain, to food value chain in particular, employing bibliometric analysis. In this way, the aim is to provide a comprehensive picture of innovation linked to the food. Specifically, the study addresses three main questions. The first, we analyze the overall volume of published papers addressing the innovation in food. The second, we aim to identify the most influential journals and research areas. And the third, we aim to identify which research topics have recently emerged on the research agenda. We want to point out the principal knowledge development direction in the studied field and to link this to the discussion about sustainable food system. As you see here, we used the PRISMA model, and on identification step, we extracted 8,600 publication from the Web of Science core database using the inclusion criteria topic, innovation and food. So we use two keywords at the same time. We removed 22 duplicates. On the next stage, we screened and 628 papers were excluded. And the sample database was finally composed, including 7,887 papers. For descriptive analysis, we used Excel and pivot tables, and for the bibliometric analysis, it was done using the software was viewer. As shown on the slide, over the past 32 years, there has been a linear growth in the number of published research papers till 2015, followed by exponential growth. On the next slide, you could see that the graph of the dynamics of the number of publications in the 10 most significant research areas shows the 2 research areas which mainly drive exponential growth, food science, where we see that the growth comes from the 30 papers here in 2016, up to 157 papers in 2021. We also could highlight the science and technology other topics. This is the yellow line, which also shows the exponential growth from the 15 in 2016 to 113 papers in 2021. If we will pay attention on the most influential journal in the sample database, we see that 15% of the total papers were published in the top 10 out of 2,589 journals. The leading journals are presented here, and we could highlight the British Food Journal, presented by the 217 papers. We also could say that the journal Sustainability made a considerable contribution with 362 papers, and for the research area science and technology as a topic, we have the Journal of Cleaner Production. The voice viewer identifies the combination of keywords, and it was collected into the clusters. This occurrence map was constructed with 774 keywords with a minimum number of occurrences set of 12. In the network visualization, items are represented by the circles. The size of the labels and circles determined by the occurrences of the keywords. The weight of the keywords indicate its importance. So you see the most important here, as we expected, this is the innovation and food. The color of the cycles and lines are determined by the cluster to which they belong. In the blue cluster, which contain 115 keywords, we could highlight the innovation. Innovation has a weight of 2,003 occurrences and link weight of 741, which means that it was mentioned 741 times with the other keywords. The other most visible keywords here, the impact, management, technology, performance, knowledge, firm, research and development. The main keywords food belongs to the red cluster, having occurrences weight of 818. And here we see also many words like nutrition, health, growth, and etc. So the network visualization show us the conceptual structure of the knowledge areas. We identified a general topic for each cluster based on the keyword analysis and abstract review. The slide illustrates the circles where the size corresponds to the sum of the total link strengths weight for each cluster. This shows us that we have in general topics in the cluster which we could apply 3 levels perspectives. The macro level consists of the 2 clusters. Here you could see the green cluster with the topic, main topic, the global sustainable food system and the circular economy. This is the macro level. Then we have the meso level with the innovation in food industry. And the micro level consists of the 3 clusters. This is the consumer behavior, consumer goods, and food and health. In the next step, overlay visualization is used to identify influential topic and emerging trends. Here you could see the scale. The color of the keywords indicates the average year of each publication, in which publication with these keywords appear. Most of the top keywords are green, meaning that average publication year between 2017-2018. We want to pay the special attention to the yellow cluster for the period 2019-2021. Where the keyword sustainability has the highest occurrence rate. Here you could observe the sustainability, and this is the most emerging topic with a weight of 618. All keywords from the yellow cluster were analyzed through the abstract review, and we constructed this table, which show us that the COVID-19 is the most recent keywords. And we also see here the words which belongs to disruptive technologies. The blockchain, for example, stands out with the highest average citation score of 22, and the keywords, the circular economy, with the highest total link strength weight of the 737. It indicates that total strength of the co-authorship links of the given researcher with the other researchers. Other directions of recent research are cultural myths, some blockchain, artificial intelligence, big data, 3D printing, machine learning, and others. The role of disruptive technologies is growing due to the expectations that the food system in general will be entirely changed by improving by accuracy, efficiency, volume, and speed of the processes of the product identity. We also identified 55 out of 183 most recent keywords associated with innovation, and it was distributed manually through the value chain stages based on the abstract review. The slide shows that 19 keywords here belong to the general part named Global Agri-food Value Chain. At the same time, we found that agricultural production is the first stage in the agri-food value chain, and the 17 keywords indicated intensive research topics on innovation in agriculture. At manufacturing and processing stage, we found only 5 keywords. The smallest number of keywords, 3, were on the distribution, marketing, and retail, and another 11 keywords were detected on the household consumption. In the next step, keywords that explicitly include the term innovation were searched, and 16 keywords sorted by the average score of the publication. Here we see that the most recent keywords is the green innovation, and the oldest is feeding innovation, dated in 2009, with an average citation score of 115. Our investigation with the angle on the phrases with the keywords innovation reveals that there is, we could apply the 3 pillars. And these pillars could be environmental, economic, and social. The economic pillar includes the business model innovation, service innovation, radical innovation, technology innovation, and agricultural innovation. To pay attention that business model innovation gains sustainability through providing the local food and producing environmental friendly practices such as energy and water conservation in the production process. We also could highlight the environmental pillar, which includes green innovation, eco-innovation, and environmental innovation. Green innovation is the innovative activity of producers or suppliers in the agri-food value chain to reduce energy consumption or emission. The concept of eco-innovation is related to the innovation focused on environmental sustainability. The next generation of the term of the open innovation is an open eco-innovation. And we could also highlight that environmental innovation also has two direction, like environmental innovation in product. For example, for developing menu, for purchasing and process of the food preparation, and environmental innovation in a process where we see the reduction of natural resource consumption, for example, water and energy. The center of knowledge structure in our research area is the sustainability. An increasing number of community members understand that the joint approach is needed, so the social pillar of the innovation is significantly requested. The social pillar consists of the new types of the phenomena. Here we could highlight the most popular. This is the open innovation, which has the highest weight of the total link strength. We also could say that the concept of the eco-innovation, co-innovation, and social innovation comes from this term. The co-innovation is actively used in agriculture, reassemble future of features of the open innovation, where the co-innovation creates a value through the collaborative co-creation and co-solution of the problems. Involving researchers in the development of innovation is a key aspect of the co-innovation. This slide shows the most visible links and topics related to the sustainability. And the three keywords were framed. This is eco-innovation, social innovation, and open innovation. We also could say that the emergence of the new trends is associated with the process to achieve sustainability and transition towards the sustainable agricultural futures, tightly connected with the different approaches and paradigms, such as agroecology, bioeconomy, urban agriculture, and smart farming. Here we also could highlight the SDG and the COVID-19, which also plays role. We suppose that the time has come to the link future trends and sustainability goal. So we highlight the new trending topics like SDG, circular economy, food system, food waste, agroecology, and bioeconomy. We believe that the topic at the intersection of sustainability will gain momentum because of the desire to achieve SDG and the active involvement of the researchers. The role of sustainability will lead to a new knowledge structure and the future research programs on the food and innovation topic. Thank you for your attention.
I think now we have discussion time, and I still have some questions. I remember you was, so just a moment, we need, please, microphone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a question regarding I had a question about pork. So how many observations were there to have such a result?
For pork, you mean?
Yeah,
Let me check.
because we are not, the majority of us are not pork eaters. That's why it was interesting.
You know that I have actually, and I have intentionally checked this, and let me check again. And I don't remember the number of observations, to be honest. Yeah, it should be.
It was very interesting also because we remember from the slide of your list of the product, we see beef. Beef.
If Nurbek is preparing, probably Richard will tell your question. Because you can answer later, okay, Nurbek?
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
All right,
So-
thank you.
Thank you very much for very interesting presentations. As we've seen, agri-food over the last 15 years has been defined by innovation. And for us working in policy advice,
Работает микрофон?
Tak?
Microphone is working? Yes.
Yeah. For us directly involved in policy advice, the key question is not only the welfare benefits of potential welfare benefits of being involved in agriculture, but also distinguishing between old agriculture and modern agriculture. If we're advocating for youth, for the next generation to join agriculture, it's important for us to know whether innovation makes it more profitable, makes it more efficient, increases the positive welfare impact. Is there any way that you can address that question in your research, or? Thank you very much.
I assume it's to me. Thank you, Richard. It's definitely a central question regarding moving from subsistence to modest participation to fully commercially oriented agriculture, that you adopt technology so you can do that. So I think we can have a look at the data and what extent it allows us to trace any spots of innovation. I doubt that there are many, but who knows? We can possibly talk later and see what could be potentially pointing to kind of more innovative, I don't know, use of technology, practices, whatever. Yeah, so that's, I think, really promising area. And I know there are limits to this data source in terms of what they ask. However, if we think it's important, then possibly future waves of LIK survey could include those questions. We already attempt to ask many others. So that seems to be in research, when looking at literature, seems to be most central in what extent technology and practice plays a role. Thank you.
Nurbek, you have answer?
Yes, I have the answer. For the pork, there are only 129 observations, which is 5% of the full data set. It is not representative. Yeah, it's not representative. Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, I should have also to check this. And for beef also you have asked. For beef, like number of observation is 1837, which is 73% of the households. Yes.
Looks interesting. Yes, I think that question from Martin, Professor Petrek from Gießen have a question. Yes.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, really.
Yes. Okay, super. Greetings to Bishkek. Yeah, thanks for the great session today. I have a question to Damir and also to the first presentation. Thanks, Damir. I got lost at one point of your presentation when you moved from the share of sold products, I think, to the sellers versus non-sellers, which is a dichotomous variable, right? Could you explain once more how this dichotomous variable is defined and why you don't work with a continuous
Martin,
share?
sorry, we lost you. Can you repeat your question?
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear me still?
Yes, now, yes, good.
I got lost on the way of your presentation, Damir, when you switched from the share of sold goods of the households to the dichotomous variable, which is sellers versus non-sellers. Can you explain how this dichotomous variable was defined, and why you didn't work with a continuous variable?
Thank you, Martin. I mean, beauty of this data is that we have continuous variable based on which we generated dummies, and it was like to start first from that. You are absolutely right that we can use continuous variable, meaning proportion of sales more than 0, and that's definitely what we intend to do. But for the moment, just to see what's going on, we're comparing those who have 0 sales versus those who have more than 0. So in that respect, it was kind of for presentation point of view, just to show what's going on, and we see huge differences. So yeah, you're right. Even showing poverty numbers was for demonstration purposes, but we have consumption aggregate, which definitely has continuous character, and it's indeed what we intend to do at the end, because this presentation was mostly to present what's coming. And right, you're right that we definitely at the end should use continuous variable, the original one.
Great, thanks. Yeah, so then looking forward to see more of that.
Yes, Marlene, then Saida, and then after Saida will Chris behind of Saida.
Добрый день. Thank you very much. It was a very interesting presentation. And my questions clarifying for the last speaker about the innovation. Innovation is very important for agri-food sector. And I'm just wondering about in your publications, because a lot of publications, have you had also opportunity to analyze about what type of innovations were the most demanding and maybe succeeded with some good successful cases, because we also collecting type of such innovation technologies in agriculture and food sector, because I thought it could be also maybe useful for our future, like inclusion in our concept proposal. So I'm just wondering if you had such cases in your publications when you analyze maybe with some best practices, maybe from other countries which had very good case in implementation in achieving some good results. Thank you.
Thank you for your question. Actually, our bibliometric review was, say, worldwide. And when we analyze the innovation, we defined that actually our expectation and assumption was that we will define a lot of technological innovation in agri-food value chain, and it will be very applicable, applied, and etc. But finally, what we see that there is a lot of environmental and social innovation. And most of the papers, this is around of sustainability, around the environmental protection, climate change, and the social. From the point of view of the number of cases we found about the innovation, we could say that social pillar is actually the biggest one. When the people, communities, local population is around of some social dilemma, how to change the food value chain to make sure that this is applied to their needs. We didn't find the really applicable stuff which could be like in OECD, the food system, food industry, this is a low technology sector. Absolutely. And we expected that we will find some new ways how to find some best cases and to apply to our country. But actually it's not, because technological process and the whole value chain is different. Absolutely. And when you see the high-tech solution, which is implemented in Americas, in Europe, this is absolutely unapplicable to our country and our region, say. Last year, we presented in a live in Kyrgyzstan the presentation about innovation in Central Asia and specifically in Kyrgyzstan. And it shows that officially National Statistical Committee reports that only 5% of food industry companies have expenses which related to innovation. But when we're looking for the production of innovation food, starting from the 2019, this is a zero for the last 3 years, and no production of the innovation food, no export of the innovation food. And when we started to look for this deeply, we find out that actually who is innovation companies in the food sector of Kyrgyzstan. This is vertically integrated companies, which is actually farmers, and they don't provide any reports to National Statistical Committee, and clusters who get support from the big donor development organization. And they are also not provide any reports to the National Statistical Committee, which means that actually, if you just will be formally look at the innovation in country, it will be like a zero, because no research and development registered, no products produced, just some equipment purchased and software, it's all. 5 companies out of the 73 companies reported. This is nothing actually. And in terms of them, if really innovation make case for the economy, we could say that this is really exist, but this is not, it's shaded, it's not officially reported.
Thanks. And yes.
Я вот хотела задать вопрос Гульнаре, да, вот спасибо вам большое за презентацию, мне очень понравился сам подход, да, который вы применили. У меня, значит, как сказать, мой вопрос связан с вопросом предыдущего докладчика, да, из тех ключевых слов, которые вы определили, вот на основании вашего ответа я могу сделать вывод, что именно кооперация, да, является для вас вот таким ключевым трендом для нашего агропромышленного сектора вот в ближайшей перспективе. Вот это первый вопрос. И второе, я хотела бы узнать, есть ли публикации у вас, да, то есть опубликованы ли вот результаты вашего исследования, да, где можно, может быть, более подробно ознакомиться, почитать. Спасибо.
Спасибо большое за вопрос. Моя публикация сейчас находится в процессе рассмотрения. Я надеюсь, что она будет опубликована уже в этом году. Такая большая надежда. Но касательно вашего вопроса, хотела бы сказать, что когда мы говорим об инновациях в целом, тот исследовательский объем, который мы сделали, он основан в основном на литературе, которая опубликована в официальных журналах, да, peer-reviewed, да, и это исследования, которые содержат какую-то очень значительную, не прикладную, а вот теоретическую основу, да, и мы также рассмотрели еще отчеты всяких международных организаций, которые отчитывались когда-либо по инновациям. И там можно найти больше таких инструментов, которые могли бы быть применимы. По поводу кооперации мы исследовали этот вопрос вот тоже в 2020-2021 году, и мы хотели бы, вот я хотела бы сказать вот свое мнение о том, что у нас развитие вообще пищевой отрасли не идет за счет вот отсутствия именно кооперации. Почему? Вот мы возьмем, например, вертикально интегрированное предприятие, которое хочет расти. У него уже есть объем, они хотят нарастить объемы, чтобы производить продукцию, но возможности найти свободную землю, купить землю нет. И возможности работать и кооперироваться практически тоже нет, потому что люди не готовы кооперироваться и работать. Если вы, например, производите свою продукцию и перерабатываете 1000 тонн молока в день, а вам нужно 3000 молока в день, то вы с кем конкурируете? С огромными предприятиями, где сборщики молока просто забирают эту продукцию по более высокой цене, и вы не можете конкурировать с ними, потому что их цена, она намного выше. Понимаете? Поэтому вот таковой кооперации нету. Во всем мире продвигаются именно вот этот вот социальный аспект, да, столб инноваций. И он хорошо развивается. Но, к сожалению, пока в Кыргызстане я вижу только отдельные такие элементы социального предпринимательства, когда создаются такие небольшие предприятия, способные решать не только проблему самого предприятия, но и сообщества вокруг. Да? Поэтому пока вот я вижу выход только в том, чтобы дать возможность кластерным предприятиям и вертикально интегрированным предприятиям нарастить мощности. А для этого нужны, конечно, политические рычаги, потому что на уровне их это изменить невозможно. Изменить много что можно, и они готовы вкладываться. И на самом деле я вижу, что инвестиции вкладываются, но результат очень маленький.
Yes, спасибо большое за очень подробно развернутый ответ. The next will be Chris, I think, yes? Yeah.
Yeah, thank you very much. Damir, bit of a follow-up on Martin's question about your treatment of discrete versus continuous variables, and you had this focus on poverty levels, and you showed there wasn't much difference between sellers and not sellers and so on. I wonder whether a better approach is to think in terms of kind of consumption smoothing or insurance and so on, to think rather than poverty and absolute levels of welfare, well-being, think in terms of vulnerability to changes in welfare, almost regardless of where you are in that income distribution. So to see, how are people using these sales? Are they using them as a coping mechanism, as a way of insuring themselves, as a way of smoothing consumption? Is the difference between the rural and urban areas in the way that they use it? And there's quite a big literature on that, which might be interesting in this context. And then Nurbek, on your paper, I just wanted to follow up on the questions about pork and beef and so on. I'm less concerned there about sample size or indeed about representativeness. I'm more concerned with the approach to modeling, because with all of these goods, you've basically had a one-size-fits-all model, if I understand correctly. And actually, the way you should do this is to consider each one independently and to think what it actually means. What do the zeros that you observe mean? And in the case of pork, I'm guessing that the zeros mean I'm a non-consumer. That's very different to, in the case of, I don't know, potatoes, where, I potentially am a consumer, but I'm just choosing not to at the moment. But, in the econometric literature, that's the difference between a sample selection effect and a corner solution effect. And how you then choose to model those, how you choose to proceed with each good depends on, a consideration of what it actually means in terms of the consumption choice that's going on, the choice to participate, the choice to consume, whether there's a correlation in the error terms between consumption and participation, and so on and so forth. There's lots of really good papers that review how to go about this process, but it should be done, case by case. Beef and pork are different to carrots and potatoes. You had cigarettes and beer on the same list there as well, and they're clearly very different goods as well in terms of measuring the elasticity. So to pull out the efficient and non-biased estimates of elasticity, you need to give it, I think, a little bit more thought to the background process of what actually generates the consumption choices that we observe.
Yeah, actually, in this case, maybe seeming unrelated regression can be better the choice, I think, yeah. And because we need to classify the goods into, for example, grains, vegetables, fruit, milk products, yeah. And we need to consider about the logic. I mean, QADs, you mean
Well, the logic of the zeros, because you started at the beginning by saying that you observe lots of zeros and therefore you estimate truncated models, etc.
Yes.
But there are a number of different models that you can estimate when you have zeros, and the correct choice depends on what the zeros mean for the individuals. Do they mean I'm just choosing at the moment not to buy potatoes? Or do they mean I'm not a smoker, so I'm never going to buy cigarettes? But that's very different to not buying potatoes. If I don't eat pork for whatever reasons, religious or whatever, I'm a non-pork consumer. So the econometric model that I use to estimate the elasticity should be different in those cases.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I agree. Actually, for example, you could create such a group like red meat. Red meat includes horse meat, beef, lamb, and potentially pork. But for pork, you could put some dummy variable like ethnicity, like non-Kyrgyz probably would be, or maybe Russian. That could explain a lot. Then, and within this group, people may choose. You cannot put poultry in it because poultry costs approximately twice cheaper usually than the red meat. So, and by this, let's say choices, people could say there might be interesting models created or submodels. Yes, and probably Damir also have good answer.
Yeah, I think I'm asked to really expand this research into something bigger. Absolutely, Chris, thank you. I mean, definitely, as I said, we will bring in some more information. Labor allocation is one, yeah, including migration. So we still don't have that information in our model, but it is available. Prices, definitely another thing, because in dynamic analysis, you want to control what happens with prices, and we also have information about inputs, and depending on these factors, the model should be richer. And we should see, using consumption aggregate and its structure composition, how households behave in that or another way. So looking at food and non-food parts and services and other commodities. So yeah, I agree absolutely that this is essential, but we struggled quite a lot in terms of data cleaning, and we are happy that we are at this stage. Golib, if you are hearing, maybe you would like to add some feedback?
Yeah. I think, just a couple things to add. And first of all, for us, for Damir, for me, it's very interesting to receive good feedbacks. And then returning to Martin's question, I totally agree on this potential of, or maybe advantage of continuous variable indicating market participation. But the challenges that we were facing while we were cleaning data set was that it was not like simply dividing sales into production. We needed to add stock that was left from previous years, which more or less makes this indicator viable, I would say, more correct. But apart from that, they were like depending on oblasts. We had faced with livestock and crop production, and then mixture of both products. And then still there is a big challenge of how to see. Still in descriptive section, we need to identify those, so to say, livestock oblasts, livestock specialization oblasts, and then crop specialized oblasts. And in addition to that, we have also another challenge with livestock animals, because we had a data set which is very good and collected by asking households about types of animals that they possessed and how these herd were changed over years. And then, I mean, even like by quarters, which can be a good track for households. But it's not that easy, for example, when we talk about meat production, because as we understood from the data set, as data sets showed, most of the households, they were selling their live animals as like sheep, in the form of sheep, rather than selling them in the form of meat. And these are challenges that we are facing. And then one part that I wanted to add, I have heard about innovations, and then I've already found in the questionnaire that at least for the crop cultivation and land usage, we had also the section in questionnaire which can be also used somehow, for example, as a technological section. Yeah, it's not related to, of course, to our topic, but by this I'm going to tell that this data set has a good potential for the future research. Yeah, that's it from my side. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. And I need to say that our session finished. Unfortunately, it's already 3 p.m. and we need to start. Very short question, please. To whom?
Да, вот вопрос. У меня 2 вопроса. Дамир и Esenaliev, и Nurbek, Moderator. Вот, Дамир, судя по вашим результатам, нет разницы между домохозяйствами, которые продают продукцию и не продают. И как вы думаете, на ваш взгляд, что нас ожидает в будущем? Производство каких продуктов будет актуальным в будущем? И Nurbek, Moderator, вам вот из ваших данных видно, что производство всех основных видов продукции за последние годы снижается. И вот это снижение с чем связано? С ростом цен на продукты питания или предпочтение населения изменилось? Спасибо.
Да,
и всем докладчикам большое спасибо за интересные доклады.
Давайте покороче.
Спасибо за вопрос. Я вряд ли отвечу удовлетворительно на ваш вопрос, что будет в будущем. Ну, как бы мы, исследователи, смотрим, что есть, и пытаемся как бы какой-то рассказ, да, за этим показать. Ну, в общем, тяжело что-то мне предсказать, что в будущем будет. Ну, понятно, что уход из сельского хозяйства был бы, как это есть, как бы коррелирует с снижением бедности, да, понятно. Внутренняя миграция есть, и люди приезжают, торговля и другие сектора. Ну, наверное, следует ожидать, что все-таки будет какое-то укрупнение, я не знаю, фермерских домохозяйств, что будут ориентироваться все-таки на коммерчески ориентированные хозяйства. Ну, что-то сказать я, честно говоря, не сильно сельскохозяйственный экономист, но, возможно, даже Канат и другие здесь коллеги ответят намного лучше, чем я. Спасибо.
Regarding your question, I think this is because of the increasing prices and the COVID-19, the pandemic, because as far as I know, since 2019, the world food prices increased by about 53%. On the other hand, the prices in the Kyrgyz Republic increased by about 40%. And this means that, and also we know that in this year, with the effect of the war between Ukraine and Russia, price also what increased significantly. And also we have also experiencing also the price increases still. And also one of the motives for the study here was also to enable to pave the way for the future the studies for the food security poverty, because the result of the United Nations shows that like before the pandemic, it was like the poverty rate was the 25%. Now it's about the 39 or the 40%. And this is also according to one study, like about 53, the country that is affected by the COVID-19, the process, the most, the Kyrgyzstan was among 5 countries that are affected the most. The countries, while they were their real the income was decreased by the 1.5%. Our households the income decreased by 5%. And this means that our since for your question is since they get increasing prices and as a result of they get poor and also external the factors, etc., etc.
Thanks a lot. And I think if you have questions, we can continue this during a coffee break. Yes.
I would like to mention from organizers' point of view that next session starts in half an hour. So we made a mistake in our program. So the next session starts at 15:30 till 5 p.m. and the reception starts at 17:30 or 5:30. So please stay with us and let's talk more. Thank you.